So once we are finished with configuration of internal parameters of any Digitex digital device from the xDas family, we can continue on login and starting using the Voyager application, which is actually the centralized software that acquires all the data from all connected digital devices. From the documentation, it is clearly visible the IP address of the Explorer Premium device and to which IP address we can use to access the system. So once we type that IP address in any kind of browser, we can see the following page, which is actually a login page. We see two buttons here. First one is the login and the second one is register. Usually all of the customers and the users of the system would like to create their own accounts, meaning their own username and password for accessing the system. So that's exactly what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna press the register button here and the window changes a little bit. So we start registering a new user by entering the desired username, which in this case will be test, and entering a desired password, which for this demonstration purposes, I will use the test. The user also needs to add a valid email address and appropriate user first and last name, which in this case could be Jane and Doe. So once we enter this information, we are satisfied with all the entered information. We simply click on register and the system will automatically log in us using this username and password. So what we see here is that we see several information, a simple dashboard which is showing us several information which of this moment are basically empty, and we need to start entering information and actually customizing our system and entering at the end desired sensors, connected digital sensors. So what we have here, the dashboard is simply showing us statistics regarding how many sensors, how many alarms are connected to the system, how many channels we have connected to the system, the number of triggering mechanisms, the number of channels used for the trigger mechanisms, and some statistical information regarding the usage of the hard drive, the usage of the RAM, the size of the database currently in use, how the timing information which explains how long the system is being worked on, and some information related to the recordings, which actually show us the last triggered event, which is in this case we do not have any, since this is a brand new user, then last and next scheduled recordings, and of course the status of the ring buffer. All of this will be described a little bit later when we're going to talk about the recordings section and explain all the different types of recordings that this system can offer. So this is the time now when we need to start adding the connected sensors to our system. We previously saw that all of them are correctly powered and we have a proper communication, and we're going to start that by pressing the Add Sensor button. The Add Sensor button is actually showing us a small pop-up window which actually has built-in discovery mechanism. The purpose of that discovery mechanism is to scan this local network and see which of the devices are actually connected here and if they are available for me to add them to my system. From the results here, I can see that all of my 3 devices are already connected and present to the system, and by simply pressing this button here, the ID of this device will be copied to the field. Then the next step I should do is to press the search button. Search button which will actually confirm that the sensor is present and live and streaming data, and the mechanism will automatically detect that this is only a sensor device. So this checkbox should stay with on, and the next step that I need to do is to press the submit button. By pressing the submit button, I immediately saw that my settings have changed, and now I have 1 sensor already added to the system. I have total of 3 channels, and I can see my sensor added on the system list to the left. This means that once I press the system channel, I can start seeing the real-time live data from this connected sensor, which is actually present here on this table. By simply tapping on the table, I can see that the sensor is live, active, and in good condition. The next step would be to add all the desired sensors. In this case, we have one additional digital accelerometer and one alarming device. So going to add sensors, I can again see my discovery protocol and I can add the following sensor, which is this one in this case. Same thing, press the search button, then press the submit button, and now I have two sensors added to my system. That means if I go back to the dashboard channel, my information is showing just two sensors and total of 6 channels. The last thing that I would like to do is to add my alarming device to the system. So the discovery protocol is showing me this last device, and I'm gonna repeat the same procedure for this device. The only difference here will be that the system will identify this only as an alarming device, as this is the purpose for this device, and I'm gonna press the submit button again. So this is how my dashboard and my system panel now looks, and we have successfully added 2 triaxial accelerometers and 1 alarming device. So the next step would be to go and start configuring the system settings of the application and start exploring the other options that this application is offering to us. Once we are finished with the adding of our devices, we can see that our system now starts looking like this. We are seeing our sensors to the system panel from the left, and we can see that both the sensor devices and the alarm device have different colors. What those colors means? Green is usually the good color that we would like to see here, meaning that the sensor is actively streaming and present on the system. The alarming device has a different color. In this case, that's a yellow color. This means that the status of this device is actually connected. That means that this device is actively connected to the system, but does not stream any data, which is actually our purpose. So since we're gonna use this device only for alarming purposes. The last action button actually here from the menu is the user button. By pressing on it, we can actually do a logout of the system, or there is an additional feature there that is allowing us to create additional users to this system, meaning that once we press the manage users button, we can see that this system currently has only 1 user. What I can do is to create additional user with less privileges than my administrator user, like this is the one that was originally created. So if I press the button create new, I will just create a user test1 with test1 password. I will just put any kind of email just for the debug purposes, Jane1 with do1, and I can tell the role of this user is guest. What does guest mean is that this user can only view the data, but not do any changes on the configuration of the application. So let's see how that works. So once I'm into the system, I have successfully created my test1 user. Let's call it guest, like the role is suggesting. And we can create this guest user and do this by clicking this button. So once I go to the logout button, I can now log into the system using this account. I enter the username and the password, and I can enter the system, and I can see all the data that I was seeing previously. You can easily notice that there are no system settings or no other available menus for system configuration, meaning that this user cannot even accidentally do any damages or misconfigurations to the system, which will eventually affect our data. The only way this type of user can do is just see the recordings, preview the recordings, and download the recordings. But it's a read-only access to the system, let's call it that way. So if we just log out, we can easily go and log in with our administrative user. We can even enable or disable this user for future purposes, and so on and so on. So this is actually how we work with the users, and this is how we can manage different type of users.